Let's talk Austria. Hello friends, it's me, your host from Treasure of. When you think of Austria, what comes to mind? Is it the beautiful soaring sounds of Mozart? The breathtaking snow-capped peaks of the Alps? Or maybe it's those elegant, historic coffee houses in Vienna where you can sit for hours with a perfect slice of Sachertorte. And look, all of that is wonderful. It truly is. But what if I told you that's just scratching the surface? That there's a whole other side to this incredible country, a side that's often overlooked. Austria is one of the most underrated travel destinations, and I'm so excited to share its secrets with you. Today, we're going on an adventure together. We're going to peel back the layers and uncover 15 fascinating and, dare I say, surprising facts about Austria that you probably didn't know. We're going to journey far beyond the tourist trails, deep into its history, its culture, and its stunning landscapes. I promise you, by the end of this journey, you'll see this magnificent country in a completely new light. It's not just a postcard. It's a living, breathing storybook filled with hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. So buckle up. We're about to explore everything from mysterious traditions and quirky festivals to culinary delights you've never heard of and innovations that changed the world. This isn't just a list of facts, it's an invitation to fall in love with the real Austria, the one that lies just beyond the familiar sights and sounds. Are you ready? I know I am. Let's go find some treasure. Alright, let's start with something that sounds like it's straight out of a medieval fantasy novel. You might know Austria for its grand Habsburg emperors and their sprawling palaces, but have you ever heard of the key keepers of the crown jewels? It's a real thing. The Austrian crown jewels, which include an incredible crown from the Holy Roman Empire that's over 1,000 years old, are kept in the imperial treasury in Vienna. But here's the amazing part. For centuries, they were protected by a system so unique, it's almost unbelievable. The treasure chamber had not one, but multiple locks, and the keys were not held by a single person. Oh no, that would be too simple. Instead, the keys were distributed among several of the most powerful officials in the land. I'm talking about high-ranking figures from the government, the city of Vienna, and even the church. To open the treasury, all of these important people had to come together at the same time, each with their own special key. It was the ultimate group project, and you couldn't be late. Imagine the scene, a procession of Vienna's most influential men, walking solemnly to the Hofburg Palace, each clutching a single ornate key. It wasn't just a security measure, it was a profound symbol. It meant that the treasures didn't belong to one person, not even the emperor, but were under the collective guardianship of the entire realm. It represented a shared responsibility for the nation's heritage, a physical manifestation of checks and balances, long before it became a modern political buzzword. Today, you can go and see these magnificent jewels without needing to assemble a council of key keepers, thank goodness. But knowing this story adds such a rich layer to the experience. When you're standing there looking at that ancient crown, you can almost feel the weight of that shared history, the echoes of those secret ceremonies, and the incredible tradition of trust and duty that protected these treasures for generations. It's history, but it's also a fantastic story. We all know the famous cities, Vienna with its opera and Salzburg with its storybook charm. They're beautiful, no doubt about it. But the real magic of Austria, for me, often lies where you least expect it. Let me introduce you to a place that feels like it was dreamed up by Mother Nature herself, the Grüne See, or Green Lake. Located in the Hochschwab Mountains of Styria, this isn't just any lake. It's a park that turns into a lake. Yes, you heard me right. For most of the autumn and winter, this area is a lovely park. You can walk along its paths, sit on park benches, and cross little wooden bridges over small streams. It's a hiker's paradise, a peaceful, dry valley surrounded by majestic mountains. People come here to enjoy the crisp mountain air and the serene landscape. It's beautiful in its own right, a perfect spot for a quiet afternoon stroll. But then, as spring arrives, something truly extraordinary happens. When the snow on the surrounding karst mountains begins to melt, the water comes rushing down and floods the entire park. The basin fills with crystal clear emerald green water, so pure you can see straight to the bottom. The park benches, the walking paths, the bridges, even the flowers and grass on the meadow floor, they all disappear beneath the surface. The water level can rise by as much as 10 meters, transforming this tranquil park into an ethereal underwater world. And this is where it gets even more magical. For a few precious weeks in late spring and early summer, the Grüne Sea becomes a legendary destination for scuba divers. Imagine this: you're swimming, not over coral reefs, but over a submerged alpine meadow. You float past a park bench where you could have been sitting just months before. You glide over a bridge that once crossed a babbling brook. It's surreal, it's breathtaking, and it's a reminder that some of the world's greatest treasures are fleeting. You know, I love a good coffee house. And in Vienna, it's an art form. But there's a cultural quirk tied to this that goes so much deeper than just grabbing a quick caffeine fix. In Austria, particularly in the traditional coffee houses, there's an unwritten rule, a beautiful understanding. When you order a coffee, you are not just a customer, you are renting a space. You are a guest in what the locals lovingly call their erweitertes Wohnzimmer, their extended living room. What does this mean? It means there is absolutely no pressure to leave. You can order 1 cup of mélange, that wonderful Viennese coffee, and sit there for hours. You can read the newspaper from front to back, and they provide them, often on these elegant wooden holders. You can write your novel, meet a friend, or simply sit and watch the world go by. The waiter will not rush you. You will not get impatient stares. It's a sanctuary from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. This tradition is so ingrained in the culture that it's been recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. Think about that. The simple act of lingering in a coffee house is considered a cultural treasure worth preserving. It's about more than coffee. It's about a certain pace of life. It's about valuing conversation, contemplation, and community over frantic efficiency. It's a rebellion against the modern rush, a quiet declaration that some things are worth taking your time for. And it's not just about sitting alone. These coffee houses are the lifeblood of social interaction. Business deals are made, political ideas are debated, friendships are forged, all over a cup of coffee and a slice of cake. It's a deeply civilized and wonderfully human tradition. So next time you're in Austria, don't just drink the coffee. Inhale the atmosphere, claim your little marble table, and become part of this beautiful, slow-moving world. It's a luxury we can all afford. When people think of the Austrian Alps, they usually picture the regions around Tyrol or Salzburg, the famous ski resorts, the iconic peaks you see on postcards. And they are spectacular, absolutely. But what if I told you there's a mountain range that's just as breathtaking, but without the crowds? A place where the mountains feel wilder, more remote, and more personal. Welcome, my friends, to the Hohe Tauern National Park, specifically the Schober Group. This isn't your typical ski lift and après-ski kind of place. The Schober Group is a rugged, dramatic landscape of over 50 3,000-meter peaks, countless pristine mountain lakes, and vast, creaking glaciers. It's located on the border of Carinthia and East Tyrol, and it has a raw, untamed beauty that feels a world away from the more manicured alpine resorts. The trails here are less trodden, the silence is deeper, and the connection to nature feels more profound. What I love about this area is the sense of discovery. You can hike for hours and feel like you have the entire mountain range to yourself. You'll stumble upon Bergseen, these stunning alpine lakes with water so clear and blue it looks like liquid sky. One of the most famous routes is the Schober Trekking Trail, a multi-day hut-to-hut hike that takes you through the heart of this majestic landscape. Each night you stay in a cozy mountain hut, sharing stories with fellow hikers over a hearty meal. This is the Austria that speaks to the soul of an explorer. It's for those who want more than just a pretty picture. It's for those who want to feel the immense power and tranquility of the mountains. It's about the challenge of the climb and the reward of a panoramic view that you've earned with your own 2 feet. So, if you're looking for an alpine experience that's truly off the beaten path, forget the crowded slopes for a moment and set your sights on the magnificent silent giants of the Schober Group. Now, let's talk about Christmas traditions. We all know about St. Nicholas, the kind, benevolent figure who brings gifts to good children. But in Austria and other parts of the Alps, St. Nicholas doesn't travel alone. He has a companion, a dark, terrifying, and utterly fascinating counterpart known as Krampus. And the night before St. Nicholas Day is not for the faint of heart. It's Krampusnacht, the night of Krampus. Krampus is a horned, demonic-looking creature straight out of pagan folklore. He's covered in dark fur, has a long pointed tongue, and carries a bundle of birch branches to swat naughty children. While St. Nicholas rewards the good, Krampus is there to punish the bad. And on the evening of December 5th, this tradition comes to life in a spectacular and slightly terrifying way with the Krampuslauf, or Krampus Run. Imagine this. The sun goes down, the air gets cold, and then you hear it. The clanging of heavy bells and chains. Suddenly, dozens, sometimes hundreds of people dressed in elaborate, horrifying Krampus costumes storm through the streets of towns and villages. These aren't cheap Halloween masks. They are intricately hand-carved wooden masks, heavy fur suits, and enormous cowbells strapped to their backs. They run through the crowds, roaring, rattling their chains, and playfully swatting at people's legs with their branches. It's chaotic, it's loud, it's a little bit scary, but it's also an incredible spectacle. It's a tradition that has survived for centuries, a fascinating blend of Christian and pre-Christian pagan traditions. It's a way of acknowledging the darkness to appreciate the light, a boisterous, primal ritual before the quiet piety of Christmas. It's a side of Austrian culture that is wild, untamed, and utterly unforgettable. If you're in Austria in early December, finding a Krampuslauf is an absolute must. Just watch your back. We've talked about the Viennese coffee house, the extended living room, but Austrian coffee culture isn't a monolith. It has wonderful regional variations, little secrets that you won't find in every tourist guide. And in the beautiful mountainous region of Tyrol, home to Innsbruck, they have a coffee tradition that is part drink, part dessert, and all performance. It's called Maria Theresia coffee. Named after the great Habsburg Empress Maria Theresa, this isn't your standard cup of joe. It starts with a strong black coffee or a double espresso. But then comes the magic. A generous splash of orange liqueur, like Grand Marnier or Cointreau, is added to the coffee. This gives it a warm, citrusy kick that is absolutely delightful, especially on a cold alpine day. It's a beautiful marriage of bitter coffee and sweet, fragrant orange. But they don't stop there. The drink is then topped with a mountain of whipped cream. Not the stuff from a can, but real, thick, freshly whipped cream. And often it's garnished with a sprinkle of orange zest or some delicate chocolate shavings. It's served in a glass mug so you can see the beautiful layers of dark coffee and white cream. It's a drink that you experience with your eyes before you even take the first sip. What I love about this is how it tells a story. It feels regal, decadent, something an empress would surely enjoy. Yet you find it in the cozy, wood-paneled cafes of Tyrol, a perfect remedy after a day of hiking or skiing in the mountains. It's a local specialty that elevates the coffee experience into something truly special. So when you're in Innsbruck or the surrounding villages, skip the familiar cappuccino for a day and ask for a Maria Theresia. It's a taste of imperial history in a mug. When we think of Austrian food, our minds go to Wiener Schnitzel Apfelstrudel, maybe some dumplings. All delicious, of course. But I want to introduce you to a culinary treasure that is uniquely Austrian and surprisingly versatile. It comes from the southern state of Styria, and it's a liquid so prized, it's often called green gold. I'm talking about Styrian pumpkin seed oil. Now, this is not the pale, flavorless pumpkin seed oil you might find elsewhere. This is something else entirely. It's made from the seeds of a special hull-less pumpkin that grows almost exclusively in this region. The seeds are roasted, which gives the oil an incredibly deep, nutty, and complex flavor. And the color is extraordinary. A dark viscous green that can look almost black in the bottle but shines with a reddish hue when you hold it to the light. The Styrians use this oil on everything, and I mean everything. The most classic use is as a salad dressing, often just drizzled over fresh greens with a splash of vinegar. But its use goes way beyond that. They drizzle it over creamy pumpkin soup on top of potato salad and even over cooked beans. It adds a savory, toasty depth that is completely unique. It transforms simple dishes into something spectacular. But here's where it gets really surprising. They even put it on dessert. One of the most beloved Styrian treats is vanilla ice cream drizzled with pumpkin seed oil. I know, it sounds strange, but trust me on this. The cold, sweet creaminess of the ice cream combined with the warm, nutty, almost savory flavor of the oil is a taste sensation you will never forget. It's a perfect example of Austrian culinary creativity, turning a humble pumpkin into liquid gold. Austria is a land of castles, hundreds of them dotting the landscape. Many are famous, like Hohensalzburg Fortress overlooking Salzburg, but some of the most fascinating ones are hidden away, clinging to cliffs and holding centuries of secrets. One of the most dramatic and overlooked of these is Burg Hochostowitz, a castle that looks like it was plucked from a fairy tale and placed on a 172-meter-high dolomite rock in Carinthia. What makes this castle so incredible isn't just its stunning location, but the journey to reach it. The main path winds its way up the mountain, and to get to the top, you have to pass through 14 fortified gates. Each gate is a mini fortress in itself with its own name, its own design, and its own defensive strategy. The path was designed to be a death trap for any invading army. Attackers would be exposed from all sides as they tried to breach gate after gate. Legend has it that the castle was never conquered. One famous story tells of a siege in the 14th century when the castle's defenders were running out of food. As a last act of defiance and psychological warfare, they slaughtered their last ox, filled it with their remaining grain, and threw it over the wall at the besieging army. The enemy, seeing this apparent abundance of food, believed the castle could hold out for much longer and gave up the siege. It's a brilliant story of wits over might. Today, you can walk that same path passing through all 14 gates just as soldiers and knights did centuries ago. As you ascend, the views of the surrounding countryside become more and more spectacular. It feels like you're climbing up into the clouds, into a different era. Burg Hochostowitz isn't just a pile of old stones. It's a masterclass in medieval military architecture and a testament to human ingenuity. It's a historic site that makes you an active participant in its story. We've all seen them, those little glass domes you shake to create a magical miniature snowstorm. The snow globe. It's a symbol of winter, of Christmas, of childhood wonder. But did you know that this iconic little object was invented in Austria? And it was invented completely by accident. It's a wonderful story of a happy mistake. The story begins in Vienna around the year 1900 with a man named Erwin Percy I. He was a mechanic of surgical instruments, and he was trying to improve the brightness of the newly invented electric light bulb for use in operating theaters. His idea was to create a water-filled globe called a Schusterkugel, or a cobbler's ball, and place it in front of the light bulb to magnify the light. To increase the reflection, he tried adding different materials to the water. One day, he tried adding semolina, the stuff used to make pasta, into the water. As he watched the particles float gently down through the water, it reminded him of snowfall. An idea sparked. He took one of his little globes, put a tiny pewter model of the Basilica of Mariazell inside, filled it with water and the semolina snow, and sealed it. The very first snow globe was born. His creation was an instant hit. Percy and his brother opened a shop, and the family business, Original Vienna Snow Globes, is still running today, now in the hands of the third generation of the Percy family. They still make the globes by hand in their workshop in Vienna, using the same secret mixture for the snow that allows it to fall so slowly and gracefully. It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the most wonderful inventions aren't planned. They come from curiosity, creativity, and a little bit of accidental magic. The nature in Austria is more than just idyllic green pastures with happy cows. It's also home to some of Europe's most impressive and wild creatures. In the high, remote corners of the Alps, particularly in Hohe Tauern National Park, you have a chance to witness the return of a truly magnificent bird, the lammergeier, or bearded vulture. This is not your average vulture. With a wingspan that can reach almost 3 meters, it's one of the largest flying birds in Europe. And you know, it doesn't look like a typical vulture either. Instead of a bald head, it has a beautiful feathered head and a distinctive tuft of black bristles under its beak that looks like a goatee, which is where it gets the name bearded vulture. They are stunning birds, with golden-orange plumage on their chests, which they actually get from rubbing themselves in iron-rich soil. What makes them truly unique is their diet. They are the only known animal that specializes in eating bone. After other predators have finished with a carcass, the lammergeier swoops in. If a bone is too big to swallow, the bird will fly high into the air with it and drop it onto rocks below, shattering it into smaller, edible pieces. This incredible behavior has earned them the German name Knochenbrecher, which means bone breaker. For a long time, these majestic birds were extinct in the Alps, hunted and feared due to false rumors that they carried off lambs and even children. But thanks to a hugely successful international reintroduction project that started in the 1980s, these kings of the Alps are once again soaring over the Austrian peaks. Seeing one glide effortlessly on the thermal currents is a powerful and humbling experience, a true wildlife success story. Austria is famous for its classical music, being the home of amazing composers like Mozart, Strauss, and Schubert. But deep in the mountain areas, there's a type of music that's super special and fun, and it's nothing like waltzes or big orchestral songs. I'm talking about a style that mixes a very unique instrument with a very unique way of singing. It's called the hammered, dulcimer, and yodeling. Let's talk about the instrument first. In Austria, it's called the hackbrett, which basically means hacking board. It's a bit like a zither or dulcimer with strings stretched over a special trapezoid-shaped wooden board. You don't pluck it or use a bow. You play it by hitting the strings with small wooden hammers. When someone really good plays it, the hackbrett makes a bunch of bright, sparkly notes that sound like a waterfall of music. It's a really important part of Stuben music, which is cozy, traditional folk music played in people's living rooms and small inns. Now, imagine that sound mixed with yodeling. And I'm not talking about the silly yodeling you might see in cartoons. Real alpine yodeling, or jodeln, is a complicated and beautiful way to sing. It involves quickly changing your voice from a low chest voice to a high head voice or falsetto. A long time ago, shepherds used it to talk to each other across wide mountain valleys. Today, it's a much-loved art form. When you hear the steady musical sound of the hackbrett combined with the high, emotional, wordless sound of a traditional yodel, it's like pure mountain magic. It's music that's completely connected to the place it comes from, like the echoes in the valleys, the sound of cowbells, and the feeling of being surrounded by amazing nature. It's a part of Austrian music that's simple, happy, and really connected to the heart of the country. In a world increasingly focused on sustainability, a small Austrian village is a shining example, literally, of what's possible. Forget the grand, futuristic eco-cities you see in architectural magazines. Let me tell you about Güssing, a town in the state of Burgenland that went from being one of the poorest in Austria to a European leader in renewable energy, all through community effort and ingenuity. Back in the 1980s, Güssing was in deep trouble. It was a remote agricultural town with no railway or highway connection, and a huge percentage of the population was unemployed and leaving for the cities. The town was spending millions of euros every year on imported fossil fuels for heat and electricity. The mayor and the community decided they had to do something drastic. They set an audacious goal to become completely self-sufficient, using only local renewable resources. They started by systematically reducing energy consumption, insulating public buildings and homes. Then they looked at what they had in abundance, forests and farms. They built a biomass power plant that runs on wood chips and other agricultural waste from the surrounding area. This plant now provides all the heat and electricity for the entire town, and then some. They produce so much clean energy that they sell the surplus to the national grid, turning a huge expense into a source of income. Today, Güssing is a thriving town. It has attracted new businesses, created hundreds of jobs, and become a center for renewable energy research. Tourists and city planners from all over the world come to see how they did it. It's a powerful story about how a community, when faced with a crisis, can come together to create a sustainable and prosperous future. It proves that the green revolution doesn't have to be top-down. It can be built from the ground up, one village at a time. Here's a quirky one for you, a custom that I find so wonderfully Austrian. It's not an official law written in a book, but it's a deeply held social principle, especially in the more rural and alpine parts of the country. It's the unwritten rule against blocking your neighbor's view. In many places, it's considered extremely bad form to build a house, or even plant a tree that would obstruct the beautiful mountain or lake view from your neighbor's window. Think about that for a second. In many parts of the world, property rights are absolute. If you own the land, you can build what you want, within zoning laws, of course. But here, there's a collective understanding that the landscape, the Aussicht, is a shared resource. The beauty of the Alps doesn't belong to the person with the frontline property. It's something that everyone in the community has a right to enjoy. This often plays out in local planning discussions. When someone wants to build a new house, the neighbours will be consulted, and a primary concern will be, will it ruin the view? Architects are often skilled at designing homes that nestle into the landscape rather than dominate it, using traditional styles and materials that complement the natural surroundings. It's a form of social pressure, a community-enforced aesthetic code. I just love this. It speaks to a culture that values beauty, community, and consideration over pure individual gain. It's a quiet agreement that says, my enjoyment of this place shouldn't come at the expense of yours. It's a small thing, but it reveals a big truth about the Austrian mindset, a deep respect for nature and a commitment to living in harmony with it and with each other. It's a law of the heart, not of the land. All right, pop culture fans, this one's for you. You know that iconic opening scene from the classic 1965 film The Sound of Music? Julie Andrews as Maria, spinning on a hilltop, arms outstretched, singing, "The hills are alive." It's one of the most famous shots in cinema history. And while the movie was filmed all around Salzburg, that specific magical meadow is a real place you can visit. But here's the surprising part. For the longest time, it was a bit of a local secret. And it's not where most people think it is. The hill is called Mellweg, and it's located near the German border, in a town called Markt Schellenberg, which is technically just across the border in Germany, though the mountain views are of Austria. The filmmakers chose it for its perfect, unobstructed view of the Untersberg mountain. The famous Do Re Mi montage, however, was filmed in various spots in and around Salzburg, including the Mirabell Gardens. But the pop culture connections don't stop there. Before it was a Hollywood blockbuster, The Sound of Music was a real story about the Von Trapp family. And after fleeing Austria, they didn't just disappear. They settled in Vermont, in the United States, and opened the Trapp Family Lodge, which is still a popular resort today, run by their descendants. So, a little piece of Austrian history is thriving in the Green Mountains of New England. And for a more modern link, parts of the James Bond film Spectre were filmed in the stunning ice and glass mountaintop restaurant, Ice Q in Soldern, in the Tyrolean Alps. You can actually go there, sit in the same spot Daniel Craig did, and order a martini. Shaken, not stirred, of course. It shows how Austria's dramatic landscapes continue to capture the imagination of filmmakers, from classic musicals to modern-day spy thrillers. So, after all this, why should Austria be at the very top of your travel bucket list? We've seen that it's so much more than Mozart and mountains, so much more than a checklist of imperial palaces. It's a country of incredible depth and delightful contradictions. It's a place where ancient, terrifying folklore dances in the streets, and where a simple cup of coffee is a protected cultural treasure. It's a place of profound, silent beauty and surprising, world-changing innovation. Putting Austria on your bucket list isn't just about seeing beautiful things. It's about experiencing a different way of being. It's about slowing down in a coffee house that has welcomed thinkers and dreamers for a century. It's about feeling the thrill of discovery as you hike to a remote mountain lake that few tourists ever see. It's about tasting the green gold of Styria and understanding how a simple pumpkin can become an object of national pride. The real treasure of Austria is the richness of its stories. It's a country that respects its past without being stuck in it, a place that fiercely protects its traditions while leading the way in green energy. It's sophisticated and rustic, grand and intimate, all at the same time. A trip here is a journey for all the senses, but it's also a journey for the soul. It invites you to be curious, to look beyond the obvious, and to connect with a culture that values beauty, community, and time. So, whether you're seeking adventure in untamed mountains, a taste of imperial history, or just a quiet moment of reflection with a perfect piece of cake, Austria has it. It's a country that doesn't just show you its highlights, it shares its secrets. And believe me, those secrets are worth traveling the world for. It's a destination that will stay with you long after you've come home, a treasure you'll want to return to again and again. Wow, what a journey. From bone-breaking vultures to accidental snow globes, Austria is just full of surprises, isn't it? I feel like we've only just begun to uncover the treasures this amazing country holds. Every valley seems to have its own story, every town its own secret. I hope this has inspired you to look at Austria with fresh eyes, and maybe even start planning your own adventure to discover these hidden gems for yourself. There's so much more to explore, and you know how much I love to explore. If you enjoyed coming along with me on this trip, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment to support the channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up by hitting that like button. It really helps more people discover our documentaries. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Are there any other Austrian secrets you know about? Please let me know in the comments section below. I read as many as I can. And of course, if you want to join me on all our future adventures as we uncover the treasures of the world, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to also click that little notification bell so you won't miss a single episode. We have so many more stories to share with you. Thank you for watching, my friends. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and be open to all the wonderful treasures the world has to offer. Bye-bye.